A Russian soldier hiding in a shack in the Zaporizhia region was directly targeted with a fiber optic drone strike. In the area near Robotyne, Zaporizhia Oblast, a Russian soldier riding an electric scooter was engaged by a Ukrainian loitering drone. Choosing an unusual mode of transport on the front line, the soldier traveled a long distance along the road. Unaware of the danger, a Ukrainian loitering drone was silently trailing him from behind. The outcome was unavoidable. He was impacted by the drone. Ukraine's 414th Strike UAV Brigade detected a Russian soldier. Exhausted, weary, and completely alone, the soldier kept moving forward, unaware that he was under surveillance by a drone. After walking for a long time, he took cover under a tree to rest. Then, a Ukrainian FPV drone was launched toward him. It slowly approached the soldier. He noticed the drone at the last moment, but it was already too late. He had become its target. A Russian soldier caught by a Ukrainian FPV drone found himself in a hopeless situation. No weapon, no cover, just an open road. He tried to escape with a few quick maneuvers. And for a moment, it seemed he might succeed, but the Ukrainian drone operator refused to give up. After a long chase, the soldier couldn't escape his fate. Ukraine's 34th Coastal Defense Brigade successfully targeted Russian drone operators in the occupied Kherson region. The location of the operators was identified, and a strike was conducted using a high-explosive loitering munition. Ukraine's 14th Mechanized Brigade identified a Russian soldier attempting to conceal himself in a field near Vilshana in the Kharkiv region. He began running in an attempt to evade an approaching FPV drone. The Russian soldier, who managed to avoid the drone for some time, eventually became exhausted and was ultimately targeted. A Ukrainian FPV drone targeted a Russian soldier but missed and crashed nearby. The Russian soldier made a critical error by assuming the drone posed no further threat. 2 Russian soldiers were pursued by a Ukrainian FPV loitering drone. One of the soldiers, attempting to evade quickly, chose to stop and fire at the incoming drone. However, after failing to neutralize it, he became exposed and was subsequently targeted by the drone. Ukraine's fiber-optic FPV drones, affiliated with the Azov Union, struck multiple Russian troop transport vehicles on the Lyman front. These drones operated with virtually zero signal delay and were highly resistant to electronic interference. Ukrainian fiber-optic FPV drones carried out a coordinated series of strikes on Russian troop transport vehicles along the Lyman front. The 12th Special Forces Brigade identified multiple targets within the combat zone and responded with precise action. As Russian armored vehicles were taken out one after another, Russian personnel found themselves increasingly vulnerable to the ongoing assaults. An FPV drone is now seen pursuing a Russian military vehicle, skillfully navigating obstacles as it advances toward its target. The drone is moving rapidly, appearing to focus on the driver's compartment of the vehicle. 2 Russian soldiers are spotted by Ukrainian observation drones in an abandoned village. Shortly thereafter, it becomes clear that the soldiers are using a building as a shelter. Ukrainian forces closely monitor their movements. A thorough scan is conducted to determine if additional personnel are present besides the 2 identified soldiers. When no further activity is detected, the first strike is executed using an FPV tactical drone. The FPV drone initiates its first strike on the structure where the soldiers had taken cover. Immediately afterward, a coordinated follow-up attack is launched. During the second strike, a significant explosion occurs at the enemy shelter. A third FPV tactical drone is then deployed to target the heavily damaged building. The drone operator guides it through the doorway, and a powerful explosion follows. After the final strike, no further signs of opposing forces are observed in the area. These coordinated attacks by Ukrainian forces left no opportunity for resistance and fully neutralized the target. Ukrainian Signum Battalion's fiber-optic FPV drones targeted and disabled Russian artillery positions. One by one, artillery batteries positioned in the Lyman direction were hit with precision, demonstrating the increasing impact of drone warfare on the modern battlefield. Despite Russian efforts to carefully camouflage their artillery systems, they were unable to evade the skilled detection and maneuver tactics employed by Ukrainian drone operators. A Ukrainian reconnaissance drone continued its search operations in the Donetsk region. During the mission, an armored vehicle was spotted in motion. Upon closer inspection, it was identified as a Russian T-72 tank. As the enemy personnel attempted to conceal the tank within nearby buildings, Ukrainian troops transmitted live coordinates to their artillery systems. The artillery units delivered a precise strike, directly hitting the tank. Smoke began to rise from the vehicle, followed by a second wave of artillery fire to ensure the target was fully neutralized. As a result of these successive artillery strikes, the enemy tank was set ablaze, with debris scattering from the impact. The T-72 was ultimately rendered inoperative, marking the end of its role on the battlefield. In the Sumy region of Ukraine, air reconnaissance units from Ukraine's 225th Assault and Maneuver Battalion detected a 10-person Russian infantry group that had remained hidden for a long time due to heavy fog. The group was advancing on foot toward Ukrainian positions. Acting on real-time intelligence from the reconnaissance units, Ukrainian artillery forces quickly sprang into action. Coordinating closely with aerial surveillance, the artillery units launched a precise strike on the advancing Russian infantry. FPV drones were also deployed to support the operation, delivering targeted blows that disrupted and ultimately halted the enemy's advance. Within a short time, the Russian soldiers were surrounded and neutralized, bringing the operation to a successful conclusion. The K2 unit of the Ukrainian army launched an FPV drone strike on a Russian shelter. Following the impact, a small fire was observed at the entrance of the structure, indicating a successful hit on the target area. A Russian infantryman inside the shelter attempts to suppress the fire by covering it with soil. However, the reconnaissance drone continues to monitor the opposing soldier. Shortly after, another tactical drone carries out a powerful strike on the shelter, intensifying the situation on the ground. After this intense strike, the opposing soldier crawls out of the damaged shelter. Ukrainian FPV tactical drones also identify additional enemy positions in the area. These shelters are systematically targeted and neutralized through successive precision strikes. The drone operators execute each mission with accuracy, reaching deep into fortified positions. Eventually, powerful detonations are observed, marking the culmination of the operation. A nearby Russian armored vehicle strikes a concealed explosive device. The blast severely damages the vehicle, rendering it immobile. The crew attempts to exit the vehicle and retreat. However, a tactical drone intercepts the opposing infantry, preventing their escape. This decisive drone strike effectively neutralizes the enemy personnel. The troops conducted one final drone strike on the damaged armored vehicle. The vehicle is now fully disabled and unusable. Reconnaissance drones from the K2 unit of the Ukrainian army identified a team operating an unmanned aerial vehicle belonging to the Russian forces. The opposing forces have established their command center in a wooded area. Soldiers from the opposing side are also observed operating an unmanned aerial vehicle. The K2 unit immediately launched a response using its own FPV tactical drones. One of the drones was directed toward the Russian command center. In the initial stage, the drone operator struck the entrance of the command center with a precision-guided impact. The unit promptly deployed a second FPV drone. The drone operator executed a highly precise approach, successfully navigating into the underground command center where opposing forces were stationed. Shortly thereafter, a powerful detonation occurred underground. The shelter sustained critical damage, and the personnel inside were incapacitated. Ukrainian warplanes launched a powerful strike on Russian military facilities in the Kursk region using GBU-62 guided munitions. According to Ukrainian military intelligence, these buildings were identified as unmanned aerial vehicle (UAV) control centers. After detecting enemy personnel entering the buildings, the Ukrainian Air Force initiated the strike. The guided bombs inflicted significant damage on the targeted structures within a short period of time. Reconnaissance drones identified a group of Russian soldiers among abandoned buildings in the Kherson region. In response, Ukrainian mortar units were activated and delivered accurate fire toward the enemy positions, effectively targeting the area. After the first explosion, Russian infantrymen attempted to flee the area. However, a series of precise and successive strikes by Ukrainian mortar units prevented them from reaching cover, effectively halting their movement. The Signum drone team, operating under the Ukrainian armed forces, tracked a vehicle belonging to opposing forces. It was identified as a UAZ 39094 type transport truck. The vehicle was heavily loaded, carrying both personnel inside and a full tank of fuel. The second target was the famous Russian Bukhanka minibus. It had reached a checkpoint but did not leave. After the attack, the vehicle was reduced to ashes, a one-time transportation story. The third target was a speeding Niva. It tried to escape, looking fast and determined, but it was too slow for the drone's targeting system. The drone fatally cut off the speeding ticket. The final scene featured a Kamaz truck hidden deep within a dense pine forest. Interestingly, a hammock was set up right next to it, perhaps a soldier was resting there, dreaming of escape or capture. But the Ukrainian drones had other plans. Instead of arrest, they offered him a one-way vacation ticket. No return.